welcome to Teacher Talk Tuesday on Sparking Wisdom. Today I thought it would be fun to talk to you guys about the process of me getting into education, specifically what I had to go through in college and just the process of becoming an educator. But before I get into that, make sure that you hit the subscribe button, turn on the notifications so that you can see other videos that I have, and give it a thumbs up. Also, if you would write in the comments if you are a teacher or prospective teacher or know somebody who is going into teaching, I would love to hear your thoughts on this video, and if you have any questions for me, I could answer them for you. I want to talk about the reason why I thought to do this video. I was originally going to make a video about the process of applying to jobs and the interview process of being a teacher. And as I was doing that, I was digging through to find this. This is my portfolio that I had to make in my different education classes, and it had to be approved in order to get my teacher license. And the funny thing is, the reason why I was looking for this is because I wanted to look at it and see all the work that I put into this thing, and nobody ever looked at it. Once. I brought it to my first interview and nobody asked to see it. I also wanted to talk about just kind of the process of the School of Education and what that was like. Let's start off with where I went to college. So I graduated high school in 2011, and then I went to college at UW-Platteville. Fun fact, Platteville was not my first choice. I actually had my heart set on going to Stevens Point, but a very good friend of mine said, no, you should check out Platteville. And I did. I went with my mom and dad, and we took a tour of Platteville. And they're not lying when they say that Platteville is kind of in the middle of a cornfield, because it pretty much is. It's like southwestern Wisconsin, and there is just fields everywhere. And then all of a sudden you come up to a small town and a college campus, which I absolutely loved that idea because I'm originally from a small town, very small town, and I grew up on a farm, and so it already felt like home. The college tour was great, and then I don't know why or how this happened, but kudos to Platteville for coming up with this idea. But I remember meeting a college professor, actually a history professor, and getting to talk to him and ask questions about what kind of courses are there and just different fun things about Platteville. And I absolutely loved it. I thought this guy's really cool, and I want to take history classes from him. Fun fact, once I got into UW-Platteville, he actually was my advisor. So that was cool. We had a pretty tight bond from the beginning, which was nice. I felt like I could go and talk to him about anything. Once you are in college, and again, this could be different nowadays, and it could also be different depending on the college that you're going to, but for UW-Platteville, you have different requirements that you have to meet before you can get into the School of Education. So I actually brought up the Admission to School of Education website, and I'm going to share some of them with you. The process of getting into the School of Education. So first of all, you do have to submit an actual application to get into the School of Ed. And here are the teacher candidate requirements. First of all, you need to have a cumulative GPA of a 2.75 or higher, or successfully complete the Praxis Core tests. There's a couple other options that you could do as well, but I remember that I had to take the Praxis test. Yes, my GPA was that high, but they really pushed us at that time to complete the Praxis. The Praxis is like an ACT. So you have reading, writing, and math, and you have to get like the minimum requirement to pass the Praxis, and then you can get into the School of Education. I remember taking that test was very stressful for me because I had to take it while I was at home, and I took it at UW-Eau Claire, which is a campus that I'm not entirely familiar with. So I remember being very stressed out. Like, imagine that you were going to take the biggest test of your life, because this helps me to get into the School of Education, what I want to do, in a place that you don't know where it is or how to get there or where to park. And once you get in there, afraid that you're gonna forget something. Like, it was extremely stressful, but I did it and I got just fine scores. So you have to do that. Next, you have to earn a C or better in each of the following 5 courses. So kind of like to graduate from any university or tech school, a lot of times you have to take what are called general education requirements, or gen eds. And in addition to that, you also have some of these like general teaching requirements and courses you have to take. So some of them are English, so college writing 1 and college writing 2, speech communication for teachers or public speaking, teaching, introduction to education, and educational media theory. So I had to take all 5 of those and get at least a C or better. What was kind of nice, and a little plug, a little public service announcement here, make sure, if you have a student in high school, if you are in high school, or if you know somebody going into high school, really push them to take college courses and AP courses for 2 big reasons. 1, it's going to save you a ton of money. So for my school, we didn't have to pay for our AP exams. And so I got, I got 9 credits for just taking the AP exams, AP US History and AP European History. So already going into college with 9 credits. And then I did take a college English course through UW-Eau Claire. There's a professor there that came on virtually through a 2-way to us and a couple other schools. And we had to write papers and present them, etc. So at no cost to me, I got 5 college English credits. So I didn't have to take college English or college writing 1 or college writing 2, which was very nice. When it comes to speech communication for teachers, you had 2 different options, and I picked the speech communication for teachers. And I thought that was kind of a no-brainer because I'm going into education, so wouldn't it make sense to take a speech class for teachers? Because I was definitely one of those kids that didn't love presenting in front of people. I could do it fine, but I would get really nervous. I would get kind of shaky. My voice would get shaky. My face would get red. So it was really nice to take a speech for teachers course because I practiced giving lessons and explaining things and going through stuff with my peers. And I would just have to say that I highly, highly, highly recommend, no matter what college you go to or what furthering education or even just taking a course at a community college, take a speech course. Take some kind of public speaking or communication course because it's going to be very rare that you will live the rest of your life without doing any kind of speaking to anybody. And it's really, really handy for life. It's just a good life skill. So that's a little plug there. The next one, the educational media theory. That one, I would say I probably got the least out of because it was basically like a computers course where you would design different curriculum things on the computer, but it wasn't very advanced. And I remember one of the last lessons that we did was going and working on a smartboard. And I think our assignment was we were supposed to create a lesson for the smartboard. We never ended up doing that. I don't know why. So I think maybe it was just a professor or something happened. I'm not 100% sure. So there was that. There's a couple other courses that you might have to take if you're going into physical education or agriculture. They have specific teaching courses that you have to do, but those are the main 5. Next, you need to have earned 30 credits in an accredited college, 15 of which have been earned at UW-Platteville. So again, this is where those AP and college courses were fantastic because I came in with a semester done already. I came in, let's see, we had 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I already had 14 credits done when I came to Platteville. And so getting those 30, that's only 16 more. So it was very, very easy for me to get the 30 credits required to get into the School of Education. Have a minimum GPA of a 2.65, perfect, and prepare an admission portfolio in your Introduction to Education course. So that's what we did. That was kind of the big project at the end of my Intro to Teaching class, is to create this portfolio. So that's what I'm gonna kind of go over with you guys next. What is a portfolio and what did we have to do with it? Education portfolio is something that at UW-Platteville, every prospective teacher had to do. And I remember when we started filling this out and putting stuff in here that they were very adamant that we had to make it look extremely professional. Because again, people are going to want to look at this. People are going to want to look at this before they hire you, and it's just good to refer back to. They made it seem like we're going to use this throughout our entire education career. Not so much. So I remember when I was making this, I was extremely anal of making it look good. I actually bought a printer just to do this and make it look nice. So for example, on my table of contents, I have it on nice cardstock. My cardstock's all themed. All the colors of the tabs are this brown grayish color. but I always had these little like pictures on them of something historical. So here's like Rosie the Riveter, we can do it. There's like the Trojan horse on here, an American flag. Like there's a whole bunch of them. Some random revolution that looks like it's happening. I don't even know. So included in my portfolio are the following: an autobiography, philosophy of education, resume, the 10 standards that we needed to have, and then my licensure elements. So I'm not gonna go through this whole thing because I think that would be very boring for you guys. But one quick shout out to my roommate at the time. I didn't have great handwriting, but she did, and she actually wrote on all of these little tabs for me to make them look nice. So in my autobiography, I wrote about 3 teachers that had an impact on me. One from elementary school, one from middle school, and then one from high school. Looking back at this autobiography, it's really neat to see how much these different teachers have impacted me. For example, my elementary school teacher, I talk about the big thing that I took from her was, and this wasn't even elementary school, this was 6th grade. The big thing I took from her was the realization that a lot of kids don't know anything about politics. And not just like Democrat, Republican politics, I don't mean that, but like civics, government. They don't know who the president is. They don't know their First Amendment rights. I remember she had us memorize the preamble to the Constitution, and it was really cool. I really enjoyed doing that. So that was awesome. The next one was talking about making learning fun, about making like models of Pueblo houses and doing journals and making the journals look like really old. I remember like burning the edges of paper to make these journal entries look really old. So like physically applying social studies knowledge, love that. And then the final one was about dedication. So this was my AP US history teacher, and he, at the end of every year before we took the test, he would have this like big dinner where he would invite all the kids over, and his like wife and him would cook dinner for us. We would all just hang out and chat about the AP exam, but also just like a celebration of, hey, we made it, and this is a hard class and we did it. Philosophy of education. I remember when we made this that they were saying that this is something that we'll refer to and change constantly as we teach. Don't think I've looked at it since I graduated until today, which was, I graduated at UW-Platteville in 2015. So 5, almost 6 years ago now. When looking over this though, a lot of it I do still hold true, you know, that I believe the real purpose of education in our society is to prepare pupils for the future. 100%, absolutely agree. Especially now with this technology age, do I care if the students can memorize the date of the bombing of Pearl Harbor? It would be great if they did, but besides winning a Jeopardy show, I would rather them understand why it happened, what were the repercussions. So I'm not so much about memorizing facts. I want to prepare them for the future of like, hey, this is why the world is the way it is. The next thing I have on here is I believe students learn best when, my favorite bullet point on here says, they are actively involved in the learning process. And I love that one so much because I don't think the teacher back then, or the prospective teacher back then, knew how much that would be important to me. I really involve my students in the learning process today. If you haven't already looked at my setting goals video with my students, there's something to be said about putting the students' ideas and input into your classroom that makes them actually want to be there and take more value in it. I believe the qualities of an effective teacher are, one of my favorite bullet points on here says, they have a stern but caring demeanor. I don't know why I put that in there. I think my plan was that I was going to be a tough teacher. I was going to be really hard and demand a lot from them, but also really care about them. I guess I kind of follow that now. I wouldn't say that I'm an extremely tough teacher, but I'm not very laid back either. So maybe I knew something there. As a teacher, I may contribute to student achievement by, and a lot of these that I have listed are like be involved in the community, be involved in extracurriculars and activities, etc. And I really did. The first couple years, I didn't say no to anything. I actively looked for ways to become more busy. Nowadays, I've pared down so I can do less things, but better. Finally, I want to become a teacher because And it says here, I feel I can be there for my students as both a teacher and a confidant in helping them in their daily struggles. Shout out to another one of my high school teachers, my high school Spanish teacher. I don't think I ever went to my high school counselor besides looking for college applications or like, I don't even know, just job applications or something like that, or whenever I was required to see her. But whenever I had actual problems or issues, I always went to my Spanish teacher. She was just there for me so very much. And I really want to be that for other students. And I feel like I have in different ways where I get to know them and they come to me when they have problems or issues or things like that. That's great. So the next things I have in this portfolio are the standards. So there are 10 standards that we have to show competency in. And by the end, so this is level 1 portfolio, we have level 2 and then level 3. By level 3, you need to show competency in I think all of them. And they're simple things like content in curriculum, development and learning, diverse learners, instructional strategies, learning environment, communication, instructional planning, assessment, reflection, and collaboration. Pretty simple and straightforward, but I needed to do like a reflection essay and piece about what is this standard, how do I apply the standard, and then reflect on what I could do better in. So that was pretty easy to do. I enjoyed that. I like getting better. I like reflecting on my own work, so that one wasn't too hard. So then licensure elements. So this is the fun one. So I have in here, now one thing I will notice when I'm looking at this portfolio is it's not done because we were required to do like a physical one and then also one online. And so I definitely have more information on the online one that I think I printed off here because I found out nobody asked for it. So I have first my admission to the School of Education letter, which is great. I love that one of the last paragraphs of this letter, though, says, you should be proud that you have achieved the milestone of admission. However, remember that you still have other requirements to meet as you continue in your education program. Like, hey, good job, but not so fast. You have other things you have to do. First of all is the completion of the Praxis 2. So the Praxis 2 is your content praxis. So if you are going to be a math teacher, then you need to take the math content. If you're going to be social studies like me, I did the social studies one. Introduction to Education Portfolio Assessment Rubric. I got a 70 out of 70. Perfect, which is fantastic. So these are all the things that are needed to be accepted into level 1. Then I have my unofficial undergraduate transcripts. These are really fun to look at because just looking at some of the classes that I took and kind of remembering about them. But one thing I do want to point out is that I have transfer credits and then my credits that I received for doing my high school AP. So I got 5 credits for Intro to College Writing, and then I got 9 credits for those AP, US, and European history courses. So highly, highly, highly recommend. Not only did I do that, but also I took the option of taking a placement test for Spanish. And I don't know how this happened, but somehow I tested into Spanish level 3 at Platteville. And so what happens is if you get at least a B in Spanish 3, then you get what are called like retroactive credits or retrospective credits. I don't remember. But so basically, if I get B in Spanish 3, I get credits for Spanish 2 and 1, which is very nice because I did it. I did get a B in Spanish, but I think I was in that professor's office every other day asking for help because I really, really struggled with Spanish. So my major is history, and then I minored in social studies comprehensive so that I could kind of like pad my degree a little bit, saying that I could teach basically any area of social studies, which was helpful to get a job. But I also had a minor in international studies, which was really cool. So to get that minor, you needed to have at least 3 years of a foreign language. Well, I only took 1 in college because I got those other 2 credits, totaling 3, to be able to get that minor. So that was really cool. One thing that I loved about Platteville was my history professor who was my advisor, like that guy that I really liked when I first went to Platteville. That was fantastic, but if there was one thing that I could have changed, it would have been to also have a School of Education advisor. because there was an issue in my courses that almost caused me to not graduate for like another year. Because I came in with a semester already done, I was kind of a semester ahead of the game. And so I wanted to do student teaching in the spring of 2015. But there was a course called Teaching Transcends. So like teaching basically like middle school age kids. But there is a part 1 and a part 2. And you are supposed to take obviously part 1 before part 2, but they were only offered in specific semesters. So like part 1 was only offered in the fall, part 2 was only offered in the spring. Well, I was already in the spring of 2014, and I was like, I have to take this course. I have to take part 2 before I can take part 1. Otherwise, what I want to student teach, I can't, because I have one course I have to take. So I had to end up getting special permission to switch around some courses. So I eventually did that. So that was good. But that was very stressful, thinking, oh my gosh, I might not be able to do this. But I did it. I got it done. So that's awesome. The other thing on here is my praxis. So I kind of talked about this, that there's 2 praxises that you have to take. Praxises? I don't know. The first one is your ACT, your reading, writing, and math. So this one you have to get a score range between 150 and 190. In case you wanted to know, for my reading, writing, and math, by reading I got a 184, writing 177, and math 181. A little disappointed that my writing was low. Then for social studies content knowledge, you had to get between a 100 and a 200. Talk about a range there, and I got a 164. One fun thing I want to share with you guys is that with the praxis, they give you test categories. So this is my content categories. So it tells you the points available and then the points you received. For US history, points available were 24. I got a 19, respectable. For world history, points available again 24. I got a 9. Whoops. I would say that most of the world history courses that I took came after I took the second praxis, but it's kind of funny to see that low score because that's what I teach now. I teach world history and I freaking love it. If I would take this praxis again, I'm sure that US history score would be way down and my world history score would be way up because I just haven't taught US history in a while. Government and politics, 26 out of 24. Geography, 11 out of 18. Economics, 11 out of 18. And behavioral sciences, it's like psychology, sociology, a 5 out of 13. Whoops. That is my portfolio. So again, I just wanted to show you guys this and see kind of like what you have to do to get through the School of Education. So not only did I have to pass level 1 and level 2, but then I had to do student teaching. And student teaching was like my level 3 portfolio. So there's a lot of reflections and like essays and papers that I had to submit and data, etc. And that's a video for another time what student teaching was like. Once that was done, I officially made it through the School of Education, graduated, like I said, with a Bachelor of Science in History. And then I got my first teaching job. Thank you so much for checking out Sparking Wisdom on this Teacher Talk Tuesday. I hope you found this interesting, learned a little bit, and again, feel free to send this to a history or any kind of teacher out there in the world if they would like help or advice. Please feel free to contact me at any time. I have a Facebook page, Sparking Wisdom, and then I also have an Instagram page too, also under Sparking Wisdom. So feel free to reach out to me. I would love to hear your input or answer any of the questions that you may have. Have a good day.